In a society that is seemingly forcing you to find yourself, your niche, and your truth right now, it is incredibly refreshing to have someone say, give yourself permission to wander. In this conversation with coach and former pastor Cody Jefferson, we dive deep into mindset programming, business, and alignment. You'll learn the importance of what Cody refers to as the 4 pillars and how they can help you create the life that you want. You'll also learn why we must transmit our pain to power, why truth is actually relative and seasonal, the importance of letting yourself wander to find the answers you seek, and why money does in fact matter. Be sure to stick around until the end of the episode when Cody drops a massive sermon of truth. Recognized as one of the country's leading voices in personal development and entrepreneurial coaching by Entrepreneur, USA Today, and many other major publications, Cody leads more than 15,000 men and women daily into living the best version of their lives through one-on-one coaching, group coaching, and sharing stage platforms with other massive influencers. What you should know is that he's just a purpose-driven, family-centered guy who gets to do cool shit every day and help people create massive impact in their lives. And in his own words, he looks like Marky Mark, has a smoking hot wife, 3 badass little kids, makes a ton of money, helps a ton of people, drives an '89 Bronco and a sick Harley, has more tattoos than a prison inmate, and wears more rings than your Southern Baptist grandma at her weekly supper club. Today's episode is sponsored by How to Conquer Your Bullshit with CPR, my free training that will help you bring your message to the masses. Sign up for the free training at rubyfremont.com/CPR. Now on to the episode with the one and only Cody Jefferson. Welcome to today's Thought Leader, where I'm challenging you to rise up, speak up, and create a movement. I'm your host, Ruby Fremont, and I'm here as a catalyst for you, the new generation of thought leaders. Join me every week as I dive into raw and real conversations that will help you amplify your presence, influence, and impact. Hey, thought leaders, I am super stoked for today's guest, Cody Jefferson, because we connected on Instagram, and it was through a mutual friend, a friend who said, yeah, this guy's pretty fucking dope. So I went over to his Instagram and realized that a lot of the shit that he talks about is super aligned, fresh as fuck, and the reality bombs that I feel like our industry needs to hear. So Cody, welcome to today's Thought Leader. I am so excited to drop into a conversation with you.
Listen, I'm typically introduced as like a dad of 3. So for you to say like, this guy is dope as fuck, I'm like, well, I do have the tattoos, so I appreciate it.
Yes, yes. We have the tattoos in common. It's cool. Cody, one of the things that I was perusing your website, and what I love is the clarity behind your message and the fact that the work that you do in this world feels like it encompasses a very holistic approach. Like the pillars that you describe, head, heart, health, habits. I resonate so deeply with that because I feel like without one of those pillars, you don't have the others. So I'd love to hear more about what got you to thinking in this way and why you feel this is so important for you and your brand and what you're here to do.
Ooh, that's a really great question. And so I've been on a lot of podcasts, very grateful for all of that. You're the first person that's directly asked me to dive into that. So kudos to you. That's a great question.
Thank you. Podcaster of the year.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. So head, heart, health, habits, right? So head being mindset, what we believe to be true about ourselves, which I believe is the most important thing. I think everything resonates from the inside out.
Yeah.
And everything is energy, everything is thought, and our truth is relative to what we believe and the thoughts that we hold captive. So a pillar of mindset has to be first and foremost, because without it, we're constantly going to be focusing on what we don't have, what we've done or what we haven't done, what's been done to us, right? Mm-hmm. Everything arises out of either victim or hero mentality. And so shifting the mindset into what is possible is the cornerstone of everything that I do and everything that we do. Being that I was in ministry for 12 years. So I was a pastor, traveled, did a
Wow.
lot of really cool things within the church itself, and then evolved out of that season of my life. And it was even in that evolution, that mindset and cognitive belief replacement and neuroplasticity and understanding all the things that were possible and even the ways that I was holding myself back.
Mm-hmm.
That's why mindset became such a pillar for what we do. And really at the forefront of what I do is helping people understand why they think what they think and how that shapes and frames their reality. So then you've got heart, which is your relationships, right? Relationship to yourself, to others, and to your source, whatever you call God. Creating healthy and useful frameworks of relationships. Right?
Yeah.
I know that for me, I had some really unhealthy relationships with myself and the ways in which I thought about myself, which led me to do things that were useful but not healthy.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like I was really good at doing a lot of things for a lot of people. I was really good at making myself useful because I tied my self-worth to my usefulness
Yeah.
until it all came crashing down on me. Right? Relationship to others. A lot of us have a really just unhealthy view because of how we were raised, because of relationships we've been in the past. Like we just have a framework that isn't necessarily as useful as it could be.
Mm-hmm.
And also to source. Like some of us have a really great representation of what our spiritual journey looks like and where we're headed. And others, it's really scattered. And maybe you don't know what you don't know. And you're coming into that space of just trying to open up, but it's very, very intimidating and a bit ostracizing. And so helping people understand what they believe and why. So we've got mindset, we've got relationship, we've got health, your body. You got one vessel to change this world in. Like, don't treat it like shit.
Yeah.
It's amazing to me how many people will neglect their physical health. They'll neglect their mental health for the sake of moving something forward. Like people will sacrifice their relationships and their health on the altar of their self-perceived success.
Right.
And so for me, I don't give a shit how much money you make. Listen, like making money is the easiest part of this equation. Like everybody can add value at some point. But if you're not taking care of your body, like I have a hard time believing that you take care of every area of your life. I have a hard time believing that you're in control. Right? Now, this isn't a knock on people who struggle with weight. This is to say that it is incredibly imperative that we pay attention not only to the spirit, not only to the mind, right? Not only to our bank account, but also to our bodies.
Yes.
And then habits is just the daily, like it's a container, right?
Yeah.
I don't really give a shit what you say you believe. I know a lot of people who say they believe things that act incredibly contradictory to the things that they say they believed. Again, I worked in the church for 12 years. There's no better place to look at that. It's not an indictment. It's just a reality.
Right.
I'm in the coaching space where everybody apparently makes like 8 figures in 10 minutes. Right?
Yeah.
And they're going to teach you how to do the same. They've been in business all of 6 hours.
Right.
So again, I don't really care what you say. I don't really care what you say you believe. Like, show me your life. Like, show me what's manifesting in your life. And that's all going to be a representation of your habits, right? If you don't believe something to be true right now, I get it. Like, let's put our affirmations on the wall. Let's make a really cool storyboard and a vision board and everything else and go cut everything out of Cosmo and make a really fun thing.
Yeah.
But if your habits don't align with that, it doesn't, like, it's just something you spent time on. Right? So our habits have to align with who it is that we say that we're becoming, which means that we have to have some real clarity on who that is that we are becoming. And that's where I come into play.
I love that. These 4 pillars, the reason why they stood out to me is I believe in our industry, there's a lot of talk on mindset alone and success, but success spoken in the quote unquote traditional form of success, which is just monetary success.
Sure.
Whereas there's a massive difference, to me at least, between success and wealth. Wealth is when our mind, body, soul, and our world around us, our internal world, external world, is all feeling really fulfilling.
Sure.
And a big part of my massive transformation back in 2012 was health. Like the one thing I felt like I could have control over, let me get control over my body again. Let me work out and take back control of my body. And that's what started shifting my mindset and the habits. I mean, this is really about congruency, right? Like,
Absolutely. And most people will start with their body because it's the transformation you can see the most. Right?
Yes.
So it's so hard to quantify. Like, here's what I'm going to like tactically and tangibly do to help you create a new mindset. It's very, very ethereal.
Mm-hmm.
But if I'm going to show you how to get in better shape as somebody who's been, a personal trainer for, 10 years, NASM and CrossFit and all these other things that are just pieces of paper, like I love a fit lifestyle, but I always have.
Yeah.
So to be able to show others what's possible, it's the easiest place to start with. It's what people love seeing the most because, again, you can quantify it with your eyes.
Yes.
And so often, if you can create the habit around going to the gym, I say if you can master your body, you can master anything.
Yeah.
Because going against the cognitive dissonance of that 600-pound gorilla, which is your limbic system, saying, no, stay in bed. Come on. Just eat the sugar and the salt. That's what you want.
Yeah.
Drink all the alcohol. Don't go to the gym. Why would you want to go to the gym? That does not sound fun. You can reprogram your brain to actually take care of your body. I think you open up to an entire new realm of possibility for everything.
Yeah, because once you start to understand that you can reprogram your brain in that way, you start to wonder naturally, wow, what else can I then change and shift? What other patterns can I evolve from in my life? Yeah. Why do you think this is such so important now? Like, why do you feel like your pillars are incredibly important now in this ripple of time that we're finding ourselves in?
Ooh, man, coming at me with the heat. Listen, and these are not questions I've been asked. So you're really catching me in more just a conversational mode, which I actually really love because there's nothing canned about this.
Yeah.
If I'm being completely candid, I think that we live in a world, or we should say a society. So I shouldn't say world, but a society that has really conditioned itself on the external and has really conditioned itself on the peering into others' lives. We'll call it 15% of people's lives, which is visible on social media, and basing an entire framework of reality around that, right? So we're a culture that's become so obsessed with being seen that we've forgotten what it is to be known.
Yes.
And in that, we could say that being known by others, absolutely. But on a deeper sense, not even being known ourselves. We don't know who we are. We are not in alignment with who we're created to become because we're so busy trying to fit a mold of what other people say that we should be. Now, it's not that it hasn't always been this way. It's simply that social media and the fabric of the landscape that we live in has exacerbated that wound tremendously.
Yes.
And so by reaching internal to discover why we believe in how we believe and what has led to those beliefs, and then to realign those beliefs with who we're currently becoming and to give ourselves permission, right? So often people are looking for permission. You don't need permission, but if you need somebody to say it, I give you permission to explore. Why do I believe what I believe? Why do I believe what I believe about my body, about relationships, about wealth, right? About spirituality, about being a father or a mother or a husband or wife, a business owner, an employee, right? Rich, poor. Like there are all these names that we assign ourselves based on where we are in this particular moment of life, but they don't define who we are as a person. And so that's where it gets really, really interesting, is being able to step back. And, this is obviously why we meditate, right? It's not because we're trying to find some sort of Zen moment that really doesn't exist. It's so that we can transcend the voice in the back of our head that keeps telling us who we are and why we are that person, which again is the limbic system just trying to keep you perceptively safe and comfortable.
Yep.
So all of these pillars are important in a world that doesn't rest, in a world that doesn't, we're in the hustle grind 24/7 bullshit mentality that like you gotta work while other people sleep. And I don't know where all of that came from. And there's some influencers that perpetuate it, but taking time to say, I'm going to focus on my mindset. I'm focus on what I believe about this life, what I believe to be possible. I'm going to focus on contribution and how I'm giving back to this world that's given so much to me. I'm going to focus on relationships and not gaining all the followers in the world so I can be seen, but who can I truly be known by?
Mm.
and who
Yeah.
will value me and who can I value, right? And then connecting to some sort of spiritual higher belief in something. Like, again, I don't care what you believe, but you got to believe in something. Even in
Mm-hmm.
nothing is something.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And
That
then putting it
that's
together.
sorry. That I just want to tag on that belief piece
Yeah,
because it is so important. You know, it's such a crucial factor to our ability to have faith and trust and move forward, as
sure.
well as understand that, and this is probably going a little more spiritual,
Please.
whatever your beliefs are, but like we are really co-creators. And if
100%.
if we don't believe in in some sort of force in anything, if we're just sitting here and like, I don't believe in anything, the world's working against me, I'm just a victim, like you're never going to get what it is that you want. You're never going to achieve what it is that you want. You're never going to go after what it is that you want because you're sitting there and you're sabotaging your ability to move towards that thing, what the vision, what it is that you want to be in this space. So I love that you speak so much about that. I think not enough people do speak about the importance of believing something other than yourself.
Well, and it's so freeing when you take a step back and you recognize, cognitively and take ownership to say objectively, like everything in my life is my fault. Now,
Mm-hmm.
that is not to say that things that have happened to you are your fault, but your
Right.
response, how you carry them, how if you don't transmit your pain into power, you
Mm-hmm.
simply transfer it to others. So
Mm-hmm.
understanding we're having this conversation because we're conscious, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because we're awake.
Mm-hmm.
You go unconscious, none of this matters. So when you start to understand that you are creating this reality, everything that you think and believe about the world is in real time manifesting your reality.
Yeah.
I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt, I am where I am, right? Like with all these cool, fancy titles that like whatever magazines give me and everything else, really fun, cool. I'm still the guy again, but like that lives in small town Oklahoma with 3 kids that just you'll find me on a weekend on a Harley or working on my Bronco.
Right.
It all became possible when I started to shift
Mm-hmm.
how I viewed the world. And when I started to realize that I am responsible for the ways that I either move forward or I don't. And there were a lot of situations that happened that I could have been a victim to.
Mm-hmm.
Really played a really pretty song about it as well. Like, just really good on the violin
Yeah.
playing that
Yeah.
sad song.
Yeah.
But no, I'm going to own everything that's mine to own, and I'm going to let go of everything that's not mine because that's not mine to own. We spend our
Mm-hmm.
whole lives trying to understand why somebody didn't love us, didn't choose us, a
Mm-hmm.
coworker, a boss, a parent, and a spouse, a child. So your whole life in someone else's business. And the more you do that, the less you can spend in your own. That's not me, that's Byron Katie. But
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, it's when we talk about it, those are great examples, like family members. That's a great example of how we can play the victim, but in reality what we're doing is we're giving away our power. You know, if you're going to sit there and question or wonder about the actions of an ex, you know, and you're going to sit in that for
yeah,
months, for years, you have now just transferred your power to that person.
sure.
We can't help, we don't have control over other people's actions, thoughts, words, whatever. We can't control. Everyone has free will and free reign of how they show up in this world. So we can't control the actions of another. And if they choose to make those actions impact us, what we do have control over is how we choose to move forward from that space. Do we choose to remain a victim, or do we choose to find the lessons, find our growth, find our evolution, take back our power, and move forward rather than stay stuck or move backwards?
Well, and yes, and that's 100% true. And it's so true even in familial relationships,
Yeah.
right? Like, oh, here's Ruby, the spiritual life coach, of course. Yeah, come tell us about all the woo things that you're doing, please. Right? Like, I know that for myself, like my family, love them. They don't understand what I do. When I stepped out of the church and
Mm-hmm.
stepped out of being identified as a certain, way spiritually, red flags everywhere for a very, very conservative Christian family.
In
So now,
Oklahoma, let's just add.
absolutely. Yeah,
Yeah.
let's just add that. Like the buckle of the Bible Belt.
Mm-hmm.
And so now we're concerned, we just don't know what he's doing. I just don't even know if he's stable. Like, and I get it. Like, this is a conversation of going up against everything that you've believed to be true.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And when we hold listener, when you hold your beliefs with a closed fist, so often that becomes a weapon of retaliation and protection. Freedom happens when you understand that there is nothing to hide, nothing to prove, nothing to protect, that who you are is enough and it needs no justification. Think of relationships, if you can, as a string, and you're holding both ends of the string with the tips of your thumb and your forefinger in both hands. And as you elevate, it doesn't mean you're going higher. It just means that you're going in a different direction. And that other person isn't. And that can be in anything. That the tension is going to mount and going to mount and going to mount until eventually it breaks out of tension, or you decide to do the mature thing and simply cut the line.
Mm-hmm.
So often walking in love is walking in distance.
Yeah. That's okay. Preach, testify. That was amazing. One of the things that came up for me while you were sharing that is, yeah, like I can't even imagine what that must have been like to pivot from being a man who works and leads with the church to
Mm-hmm.
doing what you do now
Yeah.
in the heart of the Bible Belt.
Yeah.
With all the unknowns that come attached to that, right? Because it's something new, it's something different. Plus being faced with family members being like, I don't know what the fuck he's doing anymore. He's no longer a man of God, or whatever else they're thinking.
Sure.
What was it for you? Like, why was it important for you to pivot and walk this path?
It was true to me.
Mm.
And it wasn't out of any fallout or any wounding. It was out of a deep introspective journey that had gone on through my entire process of being in ministry, which was a beautiful, amazing, authentic season of my life, my entire 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And it simply it was a couple things. One, I had become so reliant on affirmation that I sacrificed everything on the altar of my ministry.
Mm.
And people, so long as you allow them, will use you. And it's not out of malice or vindictive heart. It's none of that. It's just when you offer things all the time, people will always take you up on it.
Mm-hmm.
And that became my mantra. And everything became tied to, well, it's because I'm a pastor. Like, this is God. And God and job became the same thing. And so there's this weird skew of priority.
Yeah.
And I was working I was always working 14, 15, 18 hours a day,
Wow.
and thinking they need me. These people need me. I was a youth pastor for 10 years. My students need me. Mm-hmm. And while a very beautiful season of life, and again, such an amazing journey, it did become very codependent. And I realized, I don't know if I'm chasing a faith or if I'm chasing a feeling. Mm. And all the academic study that I had done over the course of 12 years had led me to the realization for myself that I just didn't know. I didn't know that I was right. I didn't know that there was a right. I didn't think there was an in or an out. I read the story, the sacred text, differently than others, and it didn't make sense that this was it. And this was the only truth. And if that is your only truth, listener, then I honor that. And that's what gets people confused as well, is I still honor it. I honor all of it. Mm-hmm. Because again, when there's nothing to protect, well, then my beliefs are now in an open hand. And that open hand, rather than a closed fist, can now shake hands with yours if you'll simply open it to me. Mm. I'm not here to change what you believe. I'm just here to help you pivot to say, maybe the pasture is a little bigger than you think it is. And maybe the fence lines that you've put up are, again, perceived realities that don't actually exist.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That really hits home just with everything that I've been noticing, the impact of social media.
Sure.
I feel like the impact of social media has added this whole other wedge in the game, where we have on one hand battling the beliefs upon which we were raised,
Mm-hmm.
those ingrained beliefs in our unconscious mind that, once we're older, we start to question.
Sure.
And now being faced with social media, and the perceptions of others, the perceived expectations of others, like how we feel we need to show up to be known for something. So with all of these different pieces in play nowadays, I feel like it's that much harder for people to step into their truth,
Yeah,
which is why I'm so grateful for the work that you do in this world. It's also why I do this work.
absolutely.
So what do we say to those who are listening, who are like, man, I want to experience that feeling of really being in my truth, despite all this other shit that's being thrown at me and all this other shit that's hiding within my fucking head?
Yeah. So truth is relative. And I believe that truth is seasonal. I believe that truth is, and this is going to sound so pretentious, but you're just going to have to bear with me. But I believe it's like truth is a river. And for most of us, at some point in our lives, we find that we want to journey alongside the shores of the river. And so it's going to taste different in
Mm-hmm.
different areas. It's going to be a different temperature. It's going to run at a different speed. We
Mm-hmm.
might follow, right? We might follow a different stream from the river than everyone else. And then you've got others who camp out at one particular spot, and that is their truth. And they don't ever move away from that. And that's fine too. That's where you're going to settle. Like and I don't mean settle in a negative way. Like it's not good or bad. You're just going to take up settlement where you are. And that's great.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I like to wander up and down the stream, and I like to hear from other tribes and other people and where they've camped out and where they found amazing water and where they found mud, right?
Yeah.
And where they found sickness and where they found healing. Now, all that to say, listener, it's a fucking journey. Listen, when I came out of the church and got into coaching, I mean, I was able to say fuck online. And listen, I took that really far early on in the game, and it confused a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And what it ended up doing inadvertently was actually confusing a lot of like former students. So
Mm-hmm.
for me, that was both, it was not good or bad, but useful and not useful, right? Like, wow, I'm really confusing them, but also I'm really being authentic to the journey. And as somebody who was so caged up and self-imposed, right? And not a cage in a negative way, but
Yeah.
I was in this box and I had to act a certain way. I had to show up a certain way. I had to post a certain way. Like, I had to show up as this version of myself. So then to say, okay, but this is all of me. This is the me that only like my close circle sees. And now all of you can see it. Very confusing. Like, what was real? Was he ever being authentic? Yes. You just only saw a side of me.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's taken time, right? Early on, I started following a bunch of super masculine coaches that were honestly just bullies.
Yeah.
And so I started bullying and shaming people and realized, God, that's not me. Like, and I had some really close friends and mentors say, hey, bro, what the fuck did you just post?
Yeah.
That sounds like this person, not you. And I'm like, shit, you're right. So I would say, one, give yourself permission to wander. It's funny because on my board, so I have a content calendar because that's what we do. And like this Friday, my topic is, and going live is giving yourself permission to wander in a season of goal setting. And it's, like every new year, it's a new me. And I've got to accomplish these goals in Q1, Q2, Q3, Q4, wherever you find yourself listening to this. Maybe what you need is to just chill the fuck out and wander a little bit. Maybe you just need to give yourself permission to have some space, regardless of what anyone thinks. With that, though, you're going to be going into uncharted territory and uncharted water. So a couple things you need to understand. You're either going to get injured in the process, which is okay, you will heal. You're going to fall a few times. You're going to get carried away by some streams that you didn't think were as strong as they were. I did. Or you can find yourself a guide. somebody who has been through those waters, somebody who's been through that forest, right? This is so much of what I do, is helping people through through the forest of their own self-exploration and understanding what it is they want to do with this life. And then on the strategic side, giving them the tools to say, okay, cool, you want to build the boat? Here are the fucking schematics, right? Like, you're going to have to make the tools, but I'm going to show you how to make them, and let's go. If this is what you want, why do you want it? Where are you going? What's going to happen when you get there? How's that going to feel? What's that air feel like? What's it feel like when it comes into your lungs, right? Like, what's the food going, like, we got to visualize all this so that we know where we're going and why. But be okay with the journey. I can tell you that while I knew that I would be in this space of my, like, I visualized all of this before it happened.
Right.
The way that I got here, couldn't have fucking charted that out to save my life. Thankfully, I had coaches and mentors alongside me who helped me steer the ship in as least damaging way as possible.
Yeah.
So who you align yourself with in this season of exploration and discovering who you are and what you bring to this world and how you're going to deliver to this world, finding the right people to surround yourself with. I wouldn't be where I am without my tribe. And by that, I don't mean the people that follow me. Right. I mean the 3, 4, 5 that I hold on to with a clenched fist.
Yeah. Beautiful, beautiful share. I mean, I feel like what we hear more often than not is we need to find that thing that we're meant to be, and we need to fucking be it. We need to find our niche, and we need to fucking be that. And we don't hear enough of the permission to explore and permission to wander, so that you can then fall upon what it is that really feels right for you.
Ruby, listener, do you know how many fucking niches I've had in the past 3 years of just trying to find what works? And listen, here's the really shitty part, is that a lot of it will work, but it's not aligned, right? So, I mean, I've literally, it's great because you get a lot of experience, but I've done so many things over the course of the past 3.5 years of doing this full time that it's amazing to me again how many streams I've traversed to find what's mine. And even now, some would say you're not niche down enough. Right. And it's like, okay, cool. Then I'm not niche down enough. I still like have a bigger impact at this moment than you, and I still make a fuck ton more money than you. So cool. And I'm happy.
Yeah.
Right. So
exactly. And it's, it's the analogy that comes to mind is, if something looks good on a mannequin and you don't try it on, but you just buy it, and then you go home and you're like, shit, this looks like ass on me.
Yeah.
Great. Like, you got to try on a bunch of different things. I too have changed my niche multiple times, and I'm so grateful for that experience, because it's taught me a lot of what I don't like, what doesn't feel good, what doesn't feel fulfilling. I'm great at a lot of things, and I discovered that.
Sure.
But it's that feeling of fulfillment, which I feel is what so many people are going after now and don't even know it. They stick they change the verbiage and they say, well, I'm going after success or money. What you're really seeking, thought leaders, is you're seeking fulfillment. You want to go to bed at the end of each day and feel fulfilled, and you want to wake up feeling excited. That is so much more than just money.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But let's not get it twisted.
Yeah. Money is great.
Money matters.
Money is great.
Like, so for everybody that says like, it's not about the money, it's not about the money. Fuck you. It actually is about the money. I mean, it has to be, because money is the only way that we can communicate value. We're not on a barter system anymore. Like, I'm not going to give you 7 oxen, right? For like, this isn't Oregon. I'm
not going to give you my herd of sheep.
Right. This sorry. Just so they can die of dysentery on your way, right? That was always my luck in Oregon Trail. But so that
was the best game ever, by the way.
Right? Bring it back. Money, it's the only way that we can communicate value to someone. I mean, that is why money exists. It's to say that I value this product, service, or offer enough to transact this piece of paper that communicates a set amount of value. So it should make sense that you want to make as much money as you possibly can, and give yourself permission to do that by bringing the most value to your community that you can. The more value you bring, the more money you should be making. It should be reciprocal. It should be a dance that happens between the two. And you will really find fulfillment when you're so focused on value that you lose sight of the money, because the money is coming.
Yeah. And when you're so focused on value, let me add, and you're providing it in that way of being integral with what you believe in and fully aligned in what you're serving and dishing out, the money does come.
Yeah.
The money does come. And this is simply the energetic exchange for the services that we offer and the energy that we're putting out into the world. So I'm so glad you said that. Money does fucking matter
It
to
does
all
matter.
purpose-driven leaders, entrepreneurs, creatives listening. Money fucking matters.
Well,
And
and
you
money
can make money while doing what you love and feeling fulfilled.
and money leverages for greater influence, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, we live in an age where you can connect with everyone, but in order to connect with everyone, that takes resources and money. We were talking about ads and boosted things and ways in which we get marketing content out to people. If you really believe in what you do, if you really truly believe in it, then you should believe in your ability to create income from it to then further what it is that you do, because you care, again, more about, like, I don't care about the millions. I mean, I do, but I don't care about the millions of dollars. I care about the millions of lives.
Yes.
But the millions of dollars is just a byproduct of that, right? So.
Yeah, powerful. Cody, I could keep talking to you, but I want to give you an opportunity to share with our listeners some final thoughts that could wrap up this conversation. I feel like we touched upon a lot of different things, but at the same time, they're all kind of related.
Sure. Yeah, let me see if I can put a bow on this.
Yeah.
Because we've really gone all over the map. So, listener, you know, I work with a lot of coaches and influencers and entrepreneurs. I would assume that most of your listeners are of the same breed. And the question that I come back to working with, I mean, coaching such a broad dynamic of some of the, what you'd perceive as the top influencers in the country, and then those that are just starting out and just getting their feet wet. What if everything's okay? What if you're okay? What if the problems that you perceive in front of you right now are nothing more than opportunities? Opportunities to change the way that you think, opportunities to change the way that you treat yourself, treat others, opportunities for you to take control of that which you can take control of, your mind, your body, your spirit, the ways in which you interact with yourself and others. And what if you could let everything else go? What if you could focus less on what you mean to everyone else and start focusing on what you mean to yourself? What would change this year? Because your business, everything that you're fighting to do, is nothing more than a manifestation of how you view yourself and how you treat yourself on a daily basis. So what if we take a step back? We take a step back from looking how the funnel's converting. We take a step back from how everybody else gets more likes than me and more shares and more follows. And we just said, what if everything's okay? If none of this existed, if the whole social media bullshit thing, which is beautiful in a lot of ways and detrimental in others, right? It's a yin and a yang. If I didn't have the constant comparison, what if everything was okay? What if I actually could create everything I want in this life? What would that look like? If I knew I wouldn't fail, if I wasn't afraid of what other people were going to say, what would I create? What would it look like? What would it feel like? Who would it serve? And when you can answer that honestly and with integrity and with vision, it will be all the motivation you need. The right people will align themselves with you. I am a testimony to that. And everything will fall in line, and everything will fall into alignment. I'm not going to say everything's easy. It's never easy, but that's part of the journey. It was never supposed to be easy. Take it all as a gift. The pain, the love, the loss, the learning. It's never failing if you don't quit. So what if everything right now in this moment is okay?
So fucking good. I love it when Preacher Cody comes out. Like, I felt that, and I'm positive that our listeners felt that too. Thank you so much, Cody, for jamming with me today and
It's an honor.
pieces of your story and just such amazing advice and insights for people nowadays that they're going to find refreshing compared to all the other bullshit they hear online. So
Well,
thank you.
and just to, as we wrap up, just to honor
Yeah.
you, thank you for the space that you occupy. Thank you for the truth and the illumination that you bring to your audience and to your tribe. Is needed in this space, and it's just needed because it's who you are. And I want to honor you and thank you in one, not just having me on your show, but just in showing up in the ways that you do.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'd love for you to share with our listeners how they can stalk you online, and then I'll add these links to the show notes.
Yes, you can catch me at 1-900.
Preacher Cody.
Yeah. So Instagram is Cody_Jefferson. Facebook is just Cody Jefferson. The business page is Embrace the Lion on Facebook. You can check us out at embracethelion.org. You can also check out pain2power.com, which is pain, like the Roman numeral, power.com. And I think, or you can email me, Cody@embracethelion.org. Just if you got any questions, you want to connect, you want to rap about something, the easiest way is probably just shoot me a message on Facebook or Instagram and we'll connect. It won't be a bot. It won't be my assistant. Unless you send something very creepy, in which case it will be. Always happy to connect and add value where I can.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Cody. And to our listeners, thank you so much for joining us on an amazing episode of today's Thought Leader, where we're challenging you to rise up, speak up, and create a movement. Be sure to download my free training on the website, link in the show notes. All of Cody's links are in the show notes, so go stalk him online. If you have any questions about today's episode, come at us on social media or via email. And
Please.
Be sure to drop a rating and review on iTunes. I will see you all back here next week with a brand new episode of today's Thought Leader.